Good morning student. Welcome back here. How are you student? I hope you all are fine. And now this time of period student COVID-19. I hope you all are rule this follow SMS. And now myself Nidhi Lal. Today I am going to discuss chapter number 2 and chapter name is Constitutional Design. Class 9th student. Today my topic for a start towards a new constitution. And this lecture number is student 3rd. Now start. Firstly, as protest and struggle against apartheid increased, the government realized and that they could no longer keep the blacks under their control. And the white regime changed its policies and discriminatory laws were cancelled and ban on political parties and restriction on the media were removed. And after 28 years of imprisonment, Nelson Mandela was set free from the jail. And finally, at the midnight of 26th April 1994, the new flag of the Republic South of Africa was hosted. And a new democratic country was born in the world. And black leaders appealed to blacks to forgive the whites for their bad behavior. Now I also said कि let us build a new South Africa based on equality of all races and man and woman, on democratic values, social justice and human rights. And they sat together to make a common constitution student. After 2 years of discussion and debate, and they made the finest constitution of the world. And the constitution gave to its citizens the most extensive rights and available in any country. And student, the preamble to the South Africa constitution showed this spirit and in a beautiful way. So now student, let's see कि first of all कि preamble to the South Africa constitution show this spirit in a beautiful way. Now preamble the South Africa, we the people of South Africa recognize the injustice of our past, honor those who suffered for justice, freedom in our land, respect those who have worked to build and develop how our country, and believe this that South Africa belongs to all who live in it, united in our diversity. And we therefore through our freely elected representative adopted this constitution as supreme law of the republic, so as to now see student, you can see that ki how was the change the possible. Determination of the people to work together and forgive and forget the bitter experience and reunite and create a rainbow nations of different colored people. See in this picture you can see that student कि promise to never repeat their rackets. अब ये कभी नहीं होगा and ritual and representative pass. तो firstly student कि but later that white minority governor realized and that they could no longer continue to rule by repressing the majority, so they lifted all the bans and removed all repressive law. I am already discussed part कि Nelson Mandela and other prisoners were freed, and on 26th April 1994 Republic of South Africa was born. And Nelson Mandela appealed to the fellow blacks to forgive the whites for their atrocities committed, and wished for the cooperation for all races to form a common constitution for all, which would be based on equality and justice. So both oppressor and the oppressed sat together and new constitution was framed 1996. Today it is the finest constitution to the world, giving maximum rights to the to its citizen. So I am already discussed ki how to prepare the constitution and why. So now see what is constitution. Constitution is a set of written rules that are accepted by all people living together and in a country. It is the main is supreme law that determines the relationship among people living in a territory, and also the relationship between the people and government, and it generates a necessary it generates a degree of trust and coordination among the people, okay, among the people, that is necessary for different kinds of people to live together in our country. And the Indian constitution laid down a procedure for choosing person to govern the country, student, and it specifies how the government will be constituted and who will have power to take which decision. So the Indian constitution need to be amended quite and regularly to keep it updated. It limits the power of government and ensure the certain rights to the people. Now see why do we need a constitution? Student, first of all the South Africa example is a good way to understand why we need a constitution. Again my words repeated, student, the South Africa example is a good way to understand why we need a constitution. And it was not easy for them to trust each other. They had their fears, and the black majority wanted to ensure that the democratic principle of majority and rule was not compromised. And they wanted all social and economic rights, and the white minority was worried to protect its privilege and property. After long negotiations, and both parties agreed to compromise, okay, and the whites agreed to the principle of majority rule and that of one person and one vote. So they also agreed to accept some basic rights for the poor and the worker. So last my words repeated these rules safeguard the rights of the people. So the whites agreed to the principles of majority rules and that of one person and one vote, and they also agreed to accept some basic rights, the poor and the worker. Now it is necessary to limit the power of the elected government, otherwise it may misuse the power.
The checkered racist past of South Africa comes alive at Robben Island. The island bears witness to the suffering of the predominantly black prisoners who dared to stand up to South Africa's all-white apartheid government. A 7-mile stretch of water separates it from the mainland. In summer, it is unbearably hot. In winter, bitterly cold. Thanks to this and the strong winds, escape from here was almost impossible. Torture and solitary confinement were fairly common. The prison finally closed down in 1993 and was turned into a museum. The guides here are all former prisoners or wardens. Nelson Mandela is probably Robben Island's most famous prisoner. He spent 2 decades here. Mandela and his fellow inmates planned the new democratic South Africa from here. From this hole in the limestone quarry, they dreamt of a South Africa where the blacks were equals and shared the same rights as the whites. During the 18th century, several Europeans settled in South Africa and became local rulers. They practiced apartheid or racial discrimination, due to which the blacks were segregated. They were not allowed to live in the areas where the white settlers lived or work there without a permit. They had no voting rights. There were separate schools, colleges, hospitals, trains, buses, taxis, hotels, public utilities, and even beaches for the blacks. Continuous oppression led to protests and marches by the native blacks. The colored people who had migrated from India also joined them. In 1950s, non-whites jointly started the Defiance Campaign with the support of African National Congress, ANC. Nelson Mandela the leader of ANC's armed wing, along with 7 other leaders, was arrested and sentenced to life imprisonment. They were banished to Robben Island. During the ensuing years, the anti-apartheid struggle became stronger. The all-white government also faced censure and economic sanctions from different countries. Finally, the racist government had no choice but to repeal the discriminatory policies. Nelson Mandela was freed in 1990 after 28 years in prison. Subsequently, South Africa's first multiracial elections were held in 1994. The ANC won absolute majority, and Nelson Mandela became the country's first black president. In 1994, the new government, made up of blacks, whites, Indians and colored, began drafting a common constitution to ensure equality and freedom in South Africa. This constitution was promulgated on 10th of December 1996 by President Mandela. The salient features of this fine constitution were unity, democracy, equality, social justice and fundamental human rights. The Constitution guaranteed to all citizens the right to life, vote and property. It also granted freedom of expression, assembly, association, education and justice. The Constitution gave the whites, who were a minority, their rightful place. It also prohibited discrimination on any basis. This was a unique feature of the South